Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Felix from the University of Leipzig, standing in for Thomas today because he had some emergency work to attend to. Those aren't my slides, so I'm a bit unsure about my timing, but I'm gonna try to be as brief as possible. Yeah, so I'm just giving a small overview about the Fedora Commons situation in the CLARIN-D infrastructure. Just for a quick introduction, if people are not aware, CLARIN is the Common Language Resource and Technology Infrastructure. It's basically a web-based research infrastructure for social sciences, humanities. It's also center-based, so the different centers throughout the country, which make up the whole infrastructure, and we provide linguistic data, tools, services to whoever academic users. And we are part of the CLARIND group, so to speak, which is the national consortium for Germany. But there are also other consortia in different EU countries. Yeah, and I'm mostly talking about the German perspective, so to speak. But I think some of it applies for some other centers as well. As I said, we provide a distributed infrastructure where there's centers offering different services, data, metadata, forming this complete structure that users can interact with and use data, tools, and so on. We have a certification process for the centers every 2 years. For example, the Quarters seal. And one important part is that our most important endpoint, so to speak, for metadata exchange is the Open Archives Initiative's protocol for metadata harvesting, OAI PMH, which is the basic way we share our metadata with the other centers and the more front-end directed aggregators that lets you, for example, search all the centers' data and so on. And yeah, for us as a CLARIN center and for many CLARIN centers, we have 3 main requirements for repositories. We needed, on the start of the project, we need a technical platform, which means we don't care so much about the front end. For us, we mostly needed a back end solution because the front end was more in other aggregators that are externally handled and not from us as the center. We also need long-term support because it's a long-term project and we want to provide the infrastructure as long as possible. And as I said, we need an interface with the metadata harvester, especially also for non-Dublin core metadata, because CLARIN has certain standard metadata. CMDI is, I think, the most prevalent. So yeah, and when the project started, CLARIN-D, that was around 2011, and we were around 10 centers then, or not around, we were exactly 10 centers then. And the majority of those centers actually started using Fedora 3, which was pretty new, I think, at that point, or at least the most recent version. And now, of course, some years have passed, but unfortunately, in some cases, this didn't change. So the current situation is a bit more diverse, but also we are also a bit holding on or holding off. So there was some tries from certain centers to migrate to version 4 at some point, but there were a lot of problems with that, and they had some of them, I think, switched back. Some also switched to other providers just to be a bit more state of the art, or homebrew solutions existed or something like that. And the majority actually stayed with version 3, which is, I think, what David also mentioned, that a lot of users actually still use version 3. We are, of course, aware about the running out of time, so to speak. Yeah, and there were also before some attempts at migrating to version 5 or something, but the current situation is still that most people or most centers still hold on to version 3, but we are very interested in version 6 for obvious reasons, mostly because we want to be a bit more state of the art. And we also already opened a line of communication with Lyrasis more directly. We had actually in the context of CLARIN EU, we had like a virtual meeting to talk about the upcoming version, talk about some concerns within CLARIN for this. We made an interest group to keep the exchange going, and I think we wanted to make like a requirements document, what would be interesting for us or important for us, which I think should be done in a week or so. So yeah, so the summary is we liked working with Fedora in the past, and we would like to do so in the future as well. It's mostly a question about some, especially the endpoint, the metadata endpoint. But yeah, and so we are very interested in the ongoing development of the next version, and are definitely also interested in trying to migrate and test a bit to see where it goes. And I think that's it from my side. Yes, I'm gonna upload the slides somewhere, and yeah, if you want to reach me or Thomas, you can do so via email. And yeah, open for any questions.
Thanks, Felix. And yeah, you can upload your slides directly to the wiki page if you like, or you can send them to me, whichever you prefer. But yeah, we've got a minute or two for questions before we proceed to the next talk. If anyone has anything, feel free to speak or to type into the chat.